What's going on, everybody? Russell Clay here. For the first ever Dynasty Roster review video form, I'm giving this a shot this week. I think I can maybe get a little more detail out there evaluating these rosters via video. So we're going to give this a shot. Today we're going to be looking at KC Grek's 10-team, 28 roster spot Dynasty League, 10 starting spots. It is super flex. I should definitely, well, there you go. You get a little peek behind the editing process. It's super flex, PPR, and tight end premium. So that's some of the context. And yeah, so I'm going to go through the strengths in one video, the weaknesses in another video, and then the final grade in the last video. So we're going to have 3 separate videos breaking down this roster. I hope you guys like it. As always, if you like this video, please give it a like and also subscribe to the YouTube channel. So KC Grek has a pretty interesting team here. As you can see, I've separated all the positions and put my dynasty ratings next to them. If you want to check out those, the whole ranking and rating, go over to fantasyguru.com and check out that. So as you can see, with Deshaun Watson, beyond 2022, he's a great dynasty asset. Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker. We're going to be looking at the strength here. So what I see the strength in this roster, Devontae Smith, Terry McLaurin, and George Kittle. So what I put down was top option at each position, which, having our studs is important, or sort of having higher end options is important. I wouldn't say he has elite positions, but he does have good solid players at the top of each spot. The weakness section, we'll talk about that, is really this depth that is lacking. And again, KC knows this already. He's probably not going to be surprised by anything I say in this evaluation, but let's take a look at the strengths. Quarterback, Deshaun Watson, that is a strength. It's just the problem is 2022. Right? So in terms of dynasty asset long-term, seems like this lawsuit's going to be settled at some point, and maybe he'll miss this whole year. But it does not sound like it's going to be a career ender, sort of like Ray Rice or something like that. So, Watson after this year is probably going to move up to the mid to high 90s in my dynasty ratings. It's just, even though it is dynasty, we cannot ignore the season upcoming. And so I had to give him a 10 to 15 point bump down if he's not going to be contributing much this year. So long term, it's great to have high-end QB1. It's just this in particular, QB1 could cause problems for the 2022 value of this roster. Daniel Jones, a guy I think has nice upside, would much prefer him as a QB3 or QB4, but, we're just talking about Watson for now. We will get into the depth here in the weaknesses section, but ultimately, long-term, Watson is locked in as a high-end QB1, and I think should serve this roster very well. In the future, if KC can grab another quarterback here, that's starter caliber, maybe a Jared Goff or something like that, I think we should be good for the next couple years. All right, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker. I really love Travis Etienne. I loved him out of Clemson. I thought he was a fantastic prospect, excellent athleticism, excellent production profile. When you're looking at what he brings to the table. First round pick in 2021. Liz Frank injury is certainly somewhat concerning, but not something I'm fully going to fade here as, I think the connection with Trevor Lawrence. I'm still a full believer with Trevor Lawrence, as you've known if you've watched or heard any content I've ever done. I've probably brought up Trevor Lawrence. So, I'm all in there. If I'm all in there, then I love the talent with Etienne, and I have faith that that offense is going to turn around. So I love the 23, 24-year-old running back that has immense upside as a fantasy weapon. So I'm firing away there. Kenneth Walker, also a nice little strength. I like this young RB1, RB2 combo. Might be a year away here from really coming to fruition with Rashad Penny there on one more year. But Walker, nice second-round pick. Certainly a guy who profiles as a future RB2-ish, maybe low-end RB1-ish upside if he can come to a fully featured role. So I do like those two at the top at RB. And then Devontae Smith, I think a lot of people are viewing him as a sell right now, or a guy that's not necessarily going to have that big upside, but he was a fantastic prospect. I don't necessarily think A.J. Brown going to Philadelphia is as big of an issue for him as some. I still think there's 1,000 receiving yard upside for him this year. Same thing with Terry McLaurin. Just signed that long-term deal while he has Carson Wentz this year. I like the talent there. These two should be able to hold down the fort along with Deontay Johnson at sort of the wide receiver positions. So I think we're okay at wide receiver. And also, I love the Jahan Dotson, Terry McLaurin stack. I get so many questions in the Fantasy Guru Discord, and also just the general thought process is like, if I have two players on the same team, is that limiting my upside? And what I would tell you is, have been so many scenarios over the years where a good wide receiver prospect has gone to sort of a crowded wide receiver depth chart. Ultimately, that doesn't matter. If a player is good, I think of A.J. Brown when Corey Davis was there. A.J. Brown, ironically, going to Philly now, so we're talking about Devontae Smith and the Washington receivers, but another good example is CeeDee Lamb going to Dallas with Amari Cooper there. At the time, it was tough to see this featured role that now is quite obvious for Lamb going into year 3. But at that time, there was some concern because he was going to get a muddled depth chart those first couple years. Of course, that didn't happen. CeeDee Lamb was basically, the wide receiver one there from not quite day one, but basically day one, 2,000 plus receiving yard season. Same thing with A.J. Brown and his production in Tennessee. Do not fade wide receivers you like just because there's another good wide receiver in town, especially in 2022. All right. And then George Kittle. I mean, while healthy, is an absolute savage. While healthy is just one of the best tight ends in the NFL and a player that we need to take seriously. So, that is the strength section. I don't need to talk about George Kittle. We know what he brings to the table. He is going to be a high-end tight end one, if healthy, which is a great boost for this roster. He's still pretty young, too. He's got quite a few injuries to his name, but, in that middle-aged range, and the talent is unquestionable. So, you have Irv Smith behind him, KC. That seems like a great, combination to have. And then you have Rob Tonyan sort of sitting here, who still probably has upside. I might need to up this rating. And this is, one of my favorite things about the roster reviews is that I get to see these players with the ratings on these teams and say, hey, is that a little low? Is that a little high? 38 for Rob Tonyan feels a little low. I do like Josiah DeGuara to play a bigger role as sort of an H-back receiving tight end this year, but I might have underrated Rob Tonyan. So we're thinking about that. Nice tight ends here. All right, guys, let's go to the next section, which is talking about the weaknesses.